Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. We're going to talk about, what it's like to be a digital nomad and the challenges of working from the road.
hmm
So I'm Kate, that's Joe, and we're the Russos.
For those of you who don't know us, we've been traveling the country for about 2.5 years now, and we are currently traveling around in a Class B camper van that is just over 20 feet long. So we live out of this thing full time, and we absolutely love the lifestyle. But a lot of people have asked, what is a digital nomad? A digital nomad is someone who is location independent. So a nomadic person is always traveling. The digital portion of that is someone who travels and works full time, like us.
Yep. And we can work remotely essentially from anywhere with, I would say, decent to good internet connection.
Yeah. And even without internet connection, we can still work. Like I'm writing a book. So during that time, I can sit and write even if I don't have an internet connection. So it always helps.
But speaking of challenges, is one of the challenges of being digital nomads is people think that we're on a constant vacation all the
Yes.
time.
Especially because of the life we lead. So we're always going to different places. We try to see a lot of cool stuff. So people think that this life is just a vacation and we're bringing our cameras along for the experience. And as much as I'd love to say that's true, it's really not. And that presents some challenges to us. Sorry, that presents some challenges for us when we are traveling and we go, let's say, to an event or some sort of gathering of a bunch of people. We just went to one in Quartzsite and it was just social, social, social. We really didn't get time to work and actually had to leave a little bit early because we needed time to get the video up by Wednesday. It's also a bit difficult too when we have friends and family who want to fly out and visit us because they're usually taking time off of work or are retired. And when they come out to see us, they think that they're going to spend all of their time with us. It's like vacation. You just plan things one after another. And we have to kind of dial that back and say, look, we're working. We're happy to spend time with you, but we need to put our hours in while we're here with you. And we'll usually try to take a day or two off so we can spend that with them.
I would say whenever we meet fellow digital nomads who lead a very similar lifestyle, that's something we always laugh and talk about around the campfire is having friends and family visit us. And how do we deal with like hurting their expectations?
Yeah.
And we made the mistake early on of not explaining very well. And so they would come out and, like Joe said, want to spend all this time with us. But now when we have friends visit, we say, look, we have time to grab a bite, grab a drink, hang out for a little bit, but we can't explore all the time. But like when Joe's mom came to visit us in Sedona, we worked really hard to get all of our content done so we could actually take a day off and spend the whole day with her.
And speaking of which, we're actually doing that now because she is driving out to visit us in Phoenix and bringing her new dog Charlie. So everyone will get to see Charlie romping around with Leo. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, what's next? And by the way, all of the questions right now, or not all of them, but a good portion of them, we curated from our WTR family on Patreon. For those of you who are watching this and you want to learn about cool meetups, you want to see fun videos and things that we don't share on YouTube, head on over to Patreon and become part of the WTR family.
All right. So moving on to connectivity. That is probably one of the main challenges of working on the road.
Yeah.
And the first question is, how do you stay connected and have you run into any issues with your current setup?
So right now we use a Verizon Unlimited plan. When we first got the plan, we really liked it. And what the plan allows is for a total of 22 gigabytes per line that you have with an additional 15 gigabytes of hotspot data. Might sound like a lot to some people, but when you're using that as your primary internet connection and you don't have Wi-Fi at home, it's actually not very much. So a lot of times if the data is slow on Verizon or we don't have enough data left for the month, we will find a cafe or some other type of business we can go buy a coffee or something, sit down and use their Wi-Fi. But at that cafe, we were there for what, 4 hours.
4 hours to upload a 8 GB video.
Yeah, and if we couldn't find a cafe or a place to work, we would have had to have used our plan, and that would have used up half of our data for one phone for 1 month. So it's always something that we're trying to be very cognizant about, and I would say on our phones we probably use a grand total of about 60 gigs a month.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have considered going with a separate company to do another hotspot or getting more data through Verizon. And I think it's something we're going to be seriously considering in the next month or two.
Yeah. Because I would say the two big things with leading this lifestyle is data capacity and also data speed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things to really consider depending on how much internet you need to lead this lifestyle, because we know people who do chat support, right? And if they're doing chat support all day for 8 hours at a time, they need really good steady connectivity.
Yeah.
all
Although
day.
I will say we have a few friends that work remotely for a couple different companies, and those companies pay for unlimited plans for them. So I'm always very envious of their data. But I have something funny to say. Todd was saying I look very serious. And I think whenever I'm thinking of an answer to a question, I get very like, gotta think of this and give you the right answer.
Yes. All right. So
hey, bud. Sorry. Leo you
Leo's
can't see
hello.
him, but he's saying hello.
Yeah. But you can see Leo on our Instagram story. We got plenty of pictures over there.
We had a WTR family member today send Leo a whole box of treats, and we were feeding them to him this morning. So like Kate said, head over to Instagram, find We're the Russos, and you'll see all of those pictures of Leo getting his treats this morning.
But going back to connectivity, is one question we have is, do you have multiple cell service to deal with problem areas, and how do you deal with low signal strength?
So right now we only have Verizon, but that is one of the reasons why we're looking for a data plan through, oops, sorry, Leo's bumping the table. We're looking for a data plan through another company so that we can find a way to have different access in places we go, because sometimes AT&T is really good, but Verizon is not, and vice versa. And Leo keeps bumping the table. What you doing, bud? But one thing that we do use is a WeBoost, and this is a cell booster that if we are in a place with really bad cell reception, we can put that up and it'll greatly increase the reception that we're getting. This has worked great for us in the past, but there are times where we just don't have enough signal coming through for it to work. What that means for us being digital nomads is we have to drive someplace to find Wi-Fi, or we have to leave the area and go camp somewhere else so we can actually get some work done.
All right. Hours. I've seen a lot of questions, and we got a lot about, working hours. So first question is, do you set office hours since you're always working from home?
We try to. It doesn't always work because we are traveling or we have to run errands and do different things during the day. A lot of times, the time we take for shooting videos, most of that is done during the day, and then we have to come home at night and work on putting them together. All the different things on Facebook, the different social networks and everything else. It takes us a lot of time, and I think 2 weeks ago we were actually pulling all-nighters just to try to get the Wednesday video up because so many other things were going on. So it can be challenging.
Now, someone said, you mentioned that you each work about 60 hours a week. What exactly are you spending time on?
This is a good question, because when we told people initially that we each work 60 hours a week on this business, there are a lot of people that said that's impossible. There's no way you could spend 60 hours a week putting videos on YouTube. I'm going to let Kate kind of fill you in on everything we spend our time on.
So in preparing for this question, I actually went through and just did a quick bullet point of everything that we spend time on that I could think of.
I don't think this is an exhaustive list.
No, this is just a cursory glance at what we do. So We have video production, so that means shooting, editing videos, and watching all the content we've shot, right? Which can be hours and hours.
If we shot 20 hours of content, we have to watch 20 hours of content to know how we're going to edit it.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the time it takes to download 20 hours worth of video footage onto a external drive. Sometimes that can take a couple hours.
And backing it up.
Yep.
But rendering the file, getting the finished video uploaded, writing the description, and actually pushing that video out so everyone knows it's available.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the video editing portion. We also write articles for our website, so doing research, getting it formatted properly, proofreading, triple checking to make sure everything is correct, and then pushing that out. We send out a newsletter once a month, which is quite a long newsletter that Joe has to format and write. That takes time, proofreading. We now have our WTR family and really dedicating a lot of time there. So we're producing additional video content over there on Patreon. So that's another big part of what we're doing and working on. The book series that Joe's working on, book 1 is done, but we haven't done the audiobook yet. And he's in the process of writing book 2. That takes hours out of your day every day to work on the book. And then, analytics, figuring out what we're doing is working, not working, making tweaks, and then all the administrative stuff, like bookkeeping that people don't think about, taxes.
I'm knee deep in taxes right now.
But we got stickers sent, so mailing those out, mailing out paperback copies of the book that are signed by Joe. I mean, the list goes on forever, and I actually think 60 hours a week might be an underestimate.
I think it was very conservative.
Yeah. But, not everyone has all of this on their plate. If you're a digital nomad working for another company, you might have very set hours, and it's a lot more of a traditional, maybe 40-hour week as opposed to a 60-hour week for us.
Yeah.
But that leads me to a question, which is, how do you stay focused enough to get work done, and how long do you work in one set sitting?
That's a good question. For me to stay focused, and I've seen Kate do the same thing, I have a big pair of the over-the-ear headphones, actually, here. These guys. And I will put those on, I'll crank up the music, sit down, write, do whatever it is I have to do. It came in really handy when I was doing taxes because it drowns out everything else and I can focus on the work. I don't think on a regular basis, we probably don't sit down and do, let's say, an 8-hour stretch. But we will sit down and work for quite a bit at a time, take a break, go run errands, do something else we have to do, and then come back and go back to it. Before I answer that question, I have to say a big thank you to Scott for the super chat for the tax fund. I think we're going to need it this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
I'll have to make sure to report that for next year.
2018.
All right, so I'm sorry, what was the question?
While we're taking a break, I want to give a quick shout out to one of our WTR family members. Riley Garrett, if you are watching, I just want to say thank you so much for including my recipe in your school project. It put such a huge smile on my face. So if you're watching, thank you, and look forward to meeting you and your family when we're on the East Coast. All right, mail. The question is, how do you handle getting mail and packages?
We have a mail service that all of our mail goes to. And whenever we know where we're going to be ahead of time, we can call that mail service up and they will forward the mail out to us. Most of the time with packages, we have them delivered directly to wherever we are. And there are times where we're out in the middle of nowhere, there's no place to get a package, so we'll wait, or we'll have it sent forward to a location we know we're going to be out. Now this presents a challenge to us. The stickers that Kate mentioned were actually shipped out early, so we had to call them and they had UPS hold the package for us. And again, those are the stickers. And situations like that we have to deal with on a case-by-case basis. We also had a few instances where our package was grossly delayed, and we had to wait in that area until the package showed up. So, it's a real challenge for us, but we get it done. And I would say the longer we've been on the road, the more accustomed to having packages sent, knowing where we'll be and about how long it'll take. So we plan that out pretty well now.
And really quickly, Scott is asking where we domicile.
We domicile in Texas. We looked at South Dakota and Florida, but with the different benefits with Texas and everything else, that's what we went with.
Yeah. How do you handle voting? And we just request an absentee ballot. It's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
So we vote in the county and the state where we're domiciled.
Yep.
Okay.
A few people have been asking about the super chat. So for those of you who want to use it, if you look at the bottom of the chat box, you'll see a smiley face with a weird dollar symbol next to it. If you click that weird dollar symbol, that is how you send us a super chat.
Okay. Now, moving on to location, the fun part, which it's the part I love the most about being digital nomads, is we can basically go anywhere with the exception of China and other countries where YouTube is forbidden and we wouldn't be able to upload videos, which is a big part of our business.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, there are countries like China that will block sites like YouTube. So if we were to travel to China, we would not be able to upload any of our videos. So this presents a challenge to us because Kate is from China. We'd like to go back and see the homeland.
My homeland.
Her homeland. And, shoot videos there. If we did that, we'd have to take all of that time off and then upload everything once we got back to the States or another country that allowed us to use YouTube.
That just sounds like too much work. But going back to location, which is someone wants to know if we can basically work from anywhere with internet access.
Yes, with those caveats of there are countries or places where you're not going to be able to get onto the sites that you want to look at.
Yeah. And in terms of, a lot of people will ask, how do you decide where to travel, how often to stay, and where to go? And this year, our travel has been very much dictated by the events that we've scheduled, seminars we're going to, and things like that. And the only reason we are in Phoenix, Mesa, Arizona area is because on Monday,
February 5th,
we are going to be on Good Morning Arizona, Channel 3 in the 9 o'clock hour. So for those of you who are in the area, if you're able to tune in, please do so. And we would love to get a copy of our appearance because they said that they wouldn't be able to give us a copy. So we won't be able to watch it, but we're really excited about the appearance.
Yes, it would be very helpful if someone could record that for us and send it to us.
Are you excited about it? I am.
I'm really excited. It's going to be our first time on live news TV, and I think I'm more nervous than anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, this is live, but at the same time, it's not on news.
Yeah. But going back to my point, which was, we travel based on work schedules too and where we need to be. So we're going to be in a summit in Texas. We'll have to go to that. But one of the challenges that we run into is, and it comes in handy if you're flexible with your travel, is I had to get my laptop fixed, and we took it to the Apple store. It took them 4 or 5 days to get it back to me.
Yep.
So we had to stay in that area for an additional 4 to 5 days that we didn't plan to, so that I could get my laptop back before we can move on. So it's something to think about if you're considering this lifestyle.
Exactly.
Which, speaking of equipment, this is a follow-up question, which is, do you use any kind of surge protection when you're hooked up to electricity?
We do. So we have a Progressive Industries EMS. If you head over to our website, we'retherussos.com, click on the store, you'll find it there along with a lot of the other things we use. But we use it because we don't want to fry any of our computers or electronics while we're plugged in to shore power. We also don't want to fry anything in a van. So when you're talking about work, this is our office. And if our office is down, it's going to be really difficult for us to get our work done and deal with that situation on top of getting everything else taken care of that we need to.
And that also leads to, do you feel like you have enough solar to charge 2 laptops when you're boondocking?
Oh, absolutely. I think we have more than enough solar to cover all the lights, the laptops, everything else. Um, for those who don't know, we have 320 watts of solar on the roof and a 400 amp hour lithium ion battery bank. So this will keep us going almost indefinitely as long as we have good sun. Now, when we're using things like the Instant Pot or my electric kettle, or we have the AC running, then we're going to have to turn the engine on to charge up those batteries because the solar just can't keep up with all of that. But for just some laptops and lights, we have more than enough.
Going back to the EMS
Hmm.
point that you made earlier, Scott wants to know how often we run into low voltage situations at a campground hookup.
We haven't run into it recently, but we have definitely been to some RV shows in that where they do camping on site. And the camping on site is kind of a makeshift campground. And what they end up doing is they'll truck in a bunch of those big cat generators and then run lines from those to all of the RVs. Well, in the middle of the day when the heat kicks up, everyone turns on their AC and low voltage. So in those situations, the nice thing about the progressive EMS is it'll shut you off from that situation and protect the RV. Because low voltage is actually a very dangerous situation, sometimes more so than a spike.
Does the passenger in the van actually work online while the van is moving between locations?
Uh,
Yes.
yeah, Kate does. I don't. I actually will get, if I'm looking down at a book or laptop and we're driving down the road, I'll get motion sick.
Yeah. So when we left Quartzsite early in order to get our Wednesday video up, I was in the passenger seat editing the video the entire time. And I probably worked, I did pull 2 all-nighters. But yeah, every time we have a long travel day, I'm working. And it's almost nonstop. And if I'm not working on the laptop, we're having business meetings. And
Yeah,
it just, yeah,
it's
it's
a,
always going on.
it's a good time to get work done. I do want to say a big thank you to Clifford. Just sent us a super chat and said that our book was a huge inspiration in the YouTube videos, and congratulations on getting into the Airstream sooner. Whenever people ask us if there is anything we regret about this lifestyle, my response is always that we didn't do it sooner. So good on you for getting in your Airstream and hitting the road sooner than you expected, and I'm happy we were able to inspire you to do that.
Thank you, Clifford. Okay. Um, More questions from the chat. How do you structure your day, and do you work the same hours every day, or do you mix it up?
I would say every single day is different, and it really depends on what we have going on that day. Um, I would say a Monday is usually spent editing and getting the video ready for Wednesday. When Kate is doing that, I'm usually busy writing the book or getting something else done. And a lot of it has to do with the location. So, are we at a summit or doing something like that, or are we someplace where we can kind of close the door and really focus on getting things done?
Jennifer just sent a super chat. Kate, we need more Instant Pot recipe videos. Hint, hint. Well, there might be an Instant Pot video going up on Patreon Saturday.
Yes.
No promises, but we may have shot something.
Kate is working on getting some Instant Pot videos done on Patreon. So if you're not already aware, we do share a lot of other content on Patreon that doesn't happen on YouTube or our website. And you can become part of the WTR family for as little as $5 a month.
It'll get you access to all of that and live
Yep.
chats that we do just with our WTR family members,
Hmm.
meetups, and all kinds of random special things we do over there. So, all right. So going back to when we were talking about how much we work, someone asked, although the work is time consuming, does it pay off versus the demanding jobs you both had prior to becoming digital nomad?
We definitely get paid a lot less
But
being
it's
digital
not about the
nomads.
money.
No, but
Well,
we are much happier living this lifestyle. We're able to cover our expenses, and that's really what we are hoping to do. I would say this lifestyle, even though we're putting in more time and there is a lot of stress to get the work done, get it up, and all the different things we have going on in regards to this company that we've essentially started, it is much more rewarding. And like Kate and I were actually talking about this last night, there are times where if we don't want to, if we're not able to get a article or something up, we can look at each other and say, you know what, let's not do it, or let's put up some extra content. And we have the power to make those decisions. Whereas when we were in a company before, we're just another cog in the machine. So no longer time. So for those of you who are wondering about what we used to do in our previous corporate lives and actually how we went through the whole process of hitting the road, I wrote a book. It's called Take Risks, One Couple's Journey to Quit Their Jobs and Hit the Open Road. And it's all about that year it took us from when we came up with the crazy idea to finally hit the road and really live this lifestyle. And for those who haven't been following us for too long, the Class B was not our first RV. We've been doing this for 2.5 years now, and we used to have a much bigger RV prior to this.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, bud?
It's getting warm. I'll try to sift through this and maybe take another question.
Okay.
Let's see. Well, this is funny. Do you make appointments to stop and say hi to each other? We're always arm's length away.
Yeah, we don't. It's one of those things where if we can take time off from each other by putting our headphones on or that, we do. But we're around each other 24/7 in a van that's about 90 square feet. So we don't really have to make appointments to talk or, hang out with each other. One thing we try to do every morning is over morning coffee and tea. We'll either sit outside or in here with Leo, just kind of chat about what's going on, what we have planned for that day, have a little morning meeting, enjoy our drinks, and then we get to work or whatever else we have planned for the rest of the day. But I think going back to one of the challenges of being a digital nomad, we are limited by data. This is, we're over 30 minutes now, and we're sucking down quite a bit of data on our phones, and we still need some for the rest of the month until our plan resets on the 5th, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the 5th. So I think it's time to get going.
Yeah, but I would say, for those of you who are tuning in because you're interested in becoming a digital nomad, I would say yes, there are challenges of working on the road, but we've found a way to make it work and really enjoy it. And I think, if you end up doing it, you'll figure out what works well for you.
Exactly. Now, at the beginning of this broadcast, I promised everyone a special announcement. For all of you who are in Texas or planning to be in Texas in February, we are going to be announcing our Texas meetup tomorrow on Patreon. So all of our WTR family members will get access to that. Head on over there tomorrow and you will... Leo, he really is bumping this table. Head over there tomorrow and check for the announcement because I think it's going to be kind of cool in Texas. Should be a lot of fun.
Yep. Awesome.
All right.
Well, thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you guys so much for joining. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And for those of you who want to become part of the WTR family, head on over to Patreon and we will see you next Wednesday. Bye, guys.